All right, good morning and thank you for joining us. Now that our rebuilding one-stop shop has been up and running, I've been having more conversations with the community members on how the county can accelerate the rebuilding of Altadena. During yesterday's Board of Supervisors meeting, I spoke with the Department of Regional Planning and all our permitting departments to lay out my expectations for streamlining the rebuilding process. While it's clear that residents who want to rebuild like for like within 10% of their previous home size will be fast-tracked, I'm pushing our county departments to commit to quicker turnaround times. Our federal and state leaders made it very clear that they expect local regulatory agencies to eliminate all barriers that will slow down residents in order to return home. We must seize the opportunity to both revitalize our communities and also help individuals rebuild their houses in a way that meets their needs in the future. I'm also looking into ways residents can access grants and philanthropic funding for modern investments in their new homes. This includes ADUs, solar, and home hardening improvements. Residents making these investments will not experience delays in their permitting process. Now that we've embarked on the wildlife debris removal process, I also want to touch on an issue I've heard a lot about from Altadena residents regarding trees being cut down on their property. I've been assured by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers that property owners would be given at least 5 days advance notice before any debris removal begins, along with the opportunity to understand whether a tree on their property has been deemed unsafe or needs to be removed. I want to make it clear that I strongly oppose cutting down trees in Altadena as part of the debris removal process. My office has engaged the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers about the specific tree removal incident that has been circulated on social media. I've been told this was a unique situation. I've also reiterated my expectations to the Army Corps. They must ensure tree issues are looked at very closely and thoroughly discussed with property owners to prevent tree removals without property owner engagement and without the property owner's support. Trees are a defining feature of Altadena, and I fully support every effort to preserve them. Before I wrap up, I also want to take a moment to announce a new economic support our county is rolling out. Today, the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs launches their Household Relief Fund program, providing grants of up to $18,000 for qualified households. Through this program, more than $27.8 million will be directly distributed to residents whose homes were destroyed or residents whose primary residence falls within the impacted areas. Grants can be used for any financial support a family needs as they navigate being displaced. Act quickly because the application is only through March 12th. Again, you have to submit before March 12th. Residents can apply at lacounty.relieffund.com. Again, lacounty.relieffund.com. I also want to highlight worker and small business grants offered by the Department of Economic Opportunity. The deadline to apply for these grants is March 2nd. It's important for those inside fire-impacted zones to access these funds. So please help us get the word out if you know someone that may qualify. These grants are for brick-and-mortar small business nonprofit organizations, home-based contractors, and workers that have been impacted by these fires. Small businesses and nonprofits can receive up to $25,000 if their location was fully destroyed by the fires, and workers can receive up to $2,000 if they have been impacted. You may visit laregionfund.lacounty.gov. Again, laregionfund.lacounty.gov for more information to apply. And the deadline for this is March 2nd, so it's important for you to do it as soon as possible. With that, I would like to introduce Supervisor Horvath from the 3rd District.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Recovery is underway, and the county is here to provide additional relief. I can't encourage residents enough. please apply for the household relief grants before March 12th. This is financial assistance that the county is providing to ease the pain of the financial burden that exists today. While we know you're pursuing financial assistance through insurance and FEMA and other sources, this is a fund designed specifically for you. Small business and worker relief funds are also still accepting applications, and the deadline for that is this coming Sunday, March 2nd. So please get your applications in if you are a small business or a worker at one of those businesses directly impacted within the burn footprint area. Small businesses and nonprofits that were destroyed or damaged or lost revenue, please apply. Workers who lost employment or income should also apply. This is direct cash assistance, and LA County is committed to filling the gaps in the support system that you deserve. More info on all of these relief funds is available at recovery.lacounty.gov. Yesterday, the board officially passed eviction protections countywide for people financially impacted by the fires. This protection period is for 6 months and directs the county to work on establishing a $10 million fund directed directly towards rent relief, non-payment of rent relief for property owners as well. With an update on our debris clearance process, this weekend I joined residents in Malibu, as well as Mayor Pro Tem Marianne Riggins, our Public Works Director, and our Army Corps Colonel Swenson, over the weekend to mark our first property in Malibu to be cleared in Phase 2. The first Pacific Palisades property also completed Phase 2 last week, which shows we are moving at a historic rate to make sure that we are clearing out this debris. We are removing it from an uncontrolled environment to a controlled environment to protect our communities, to prioritize safety and health, both for our residents and for our environment. And I'm incredibly grateful to our Army Corps partners who are also working at Pali High to repair and rebuild our schools quickly. We must do this debris removal process, and we appreciate their partnership in it. There's still time to submit your interest in sample soil testing by Department of Public Health, Loyola, UCLA, and Purdue. There's a coalition of experts working to enhance the availability of soil testing throughout our region. You can visit Community Action Project LA at www.cap.la. Complete the survey, and they will proceed in corresponding with you about what is next in those steps for soil testing. Finally, light rains were forecasted this weekend. We're not anticipating significant debris flows, but our Public Works Department, as well as all of our related partners, will appropriately respond to keep our communities safe. So we encourage you to stay alert about the news about the weather updates. With that, I'd like to welcome Cherie Peterson, Acting Regional Administrator, U.S. EPA.
Thank you, Supervisor. I'm very pleased to report that EPA has completed assessment, removal, and safe disposal of all household hazardous materials from the Eaton and Palisades wildfire area. This success would not have been possible without the dedication of EPA personnel, EPA contractors, government agencies, and of course, the support of the public. Specifically, without the coordination and support of my other federal family members, FEMA, the Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Coast Guard, as well as California agencies, Cal EPA, DTSC, LA City, LA County, particularly the supervisors, excuse me, and of course, South Coast Air Quality Management District. Without them, the success would not have been possible. This is the largest wildfire response that EPA has ever engaged in. We have removed over 300 million tons of hazardous household material. We have used 1,700 EPA staff, the largest ever response. In addition, for lithium-ion batteries, we have removed almost 700 electric vehicle batteries and almost 300 solar storage power battery packs. This is, again, the largest response area in EPA's history. We will continue to be here while the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers completes their mission to support removal of lithium-ion batteries. While I recognize that this is only the first phase of recovery, we are so proud to be part of this recovery and the rebuilding. Thank you. With that, I'd like to introduce Colonel Swenson from the Army Corps of Engineers.
Good morning, LA County. Colonel Eric Swenson, United States Army Corps of Engineers. I'd just like to start by thanking the supervisors for putting me forth. For those who are baseball fans, that means it's the cleanup position, and that is exactly what we're doing here in LA County in both the Eaton and Palisades fire-impacted area. We have crews out right now and have been out for the past couple weeks and will be out for the next couple months, rapidly and safely clearing fire ash and debris from fire-damaged properties so that this community can rebuild. Our team remains committed to this mission. We are working diligently and safely to help families recover from these terrible wildfires that struck this community on starting January 7th, 2025. Let me give a little progress update. So last week we reached a significant milestones. We completed our first residential debris removal in both Altadena and in Pacific Palisades neighborhoods, as well as in Malibu. We've completed 10 properties to date. That number continues to grow, but the progress is far greater than that when you look at the number of crews we have out and the work that they're doing in the community. At the Pasadena Unified School District, we have cleared debris from 4 schools, and we are getting ready to work on our 5th and final school in that school district. Just this week, we completed work at Pali High, and we have 2 more schools in the LA Unified School District that we are working hard to get started and hope to have that started here in the next week. I just want to clarify some tree removal questions. I know this has been a topic of interest. We understand that there are concerns and some misconceptions regarding tree markings and removal. Just let me be clear. Our goal is to save as many trees as possible. Not all trees that are marked will be removed. In the early days of the fire, there were several agencies out marking trees, especially those along the right-of-way. So I just want to make sure everyone understands the marking that the Corps of Engineers is using, and we are right now the agency that is removing fire-damaged trees. So the Army Corps marks hazard trees with 3 blue dots and a barcode at the base. Trees will be removed if they meet some strict criteria, which I'm going to lay out now. They are in the ash footprint and must be removed to safely conduct debris removal. They pose an immediate safety risk to work crews or the public. And we do this with arborists who are International Society of Arboricultural certified, and they determine in their professional opinion that these trees are dead or expected to die within 5 years. Trees that do not meet these criteria will remain, and we do not remove trees simply because they are burned or damaged. We use that professional judgment from a certified arborist, and we've been doing this process in support of FEMA for over a decade, and in the state of California, we follow the same procedures that the state follows. The county is also, we're working with the county on a waiver process so that homeowners could opt out of a tree. I would transfer the risk back to the homeowner. Obviously, it is our interest, we're here for the public health and safety. So if we mark a tree to be removed, we're doing it to support the public health and safety for the community while we're working, but also after we leave and the public returns to these properties to rebuild their homes. Okay, a couple public service announcements. So I'm going to ask for the public's patience. You've heard me say this before. We have a lot of trucks on the road moving around, and I just ask the public to just be aware that we have an increased truck traffic. We're doing everything we can to manage congestion on roads and not to overburden any of the roads. But for the next few months, there's going to be an increase of traffic as we try to get this fire ash and debris safely moved from fire-impacted parcels in line trucks to a permitted landfill. Also, for those who are interested in following the progress of their parcel, there's several viewers out there. The EPA has a public viewer, the Corps has a public viewer, and the Department of Public Works has our ROE public viewer that you can get to, all from recovery.lacounty.gov. The links are there, so you can follow along and see where your parcel is in this process. I also have a debris hotline that can be reached from 6 in the morning till 6:30 in the afternoon. It's staffed with both English and Spanish speakers, and I'll give that number 213-308-8305. Again, that's 213-308-8305. In closing, the Army Corps of Engineers remains focused on delivering this mission safely and with the utmost care for the people of Los Angeles. We will continue working closely with our federal, state, and county partners, as well as local officials and impacted residents, to clear the way for recovery and rebuilding. Finally, I encourage you, if you're sitting on the fence with regards to the right of entry, the right of entry deadline established by the county is 31 March 2025. So if you have questions about whether you should sign up for the right of entry, and what your decision should be, I encourage you to reach out to either the county or reach out to the Army Corps of Engineers at our call center, or find one of my red shirts or myself out in one of the impacted areas and ask us questions. We're here to answer them. We want you to be partners in this process, and we want you to have this fire ash and debris safely removed from your property as quickly as possible so that you can move on with the next task, which is rebuilding your lives and livelihoods here on your property in beautiful LA County. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Colonel. We'll now transition to our question and answer portion. We have a few roving microphones. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand. We'll run a microphone to you. Just introduce your name and your media outlet. We'll start right over here.
Oh, thank you. Annie Rose Ramos, KTLA. This is for County Supervisor Barker, if you don't mind. Does this mean that phase 1 is officially completed? What is your initial reaction to that? And if so, could you also briefly touch upon the shelter? Are those closing this Friday? Thanks.
So on phase 1, my understanding is 99, but you said we're completed. So we are completed with EPA on phase 1. So as Colonel Swenson said, now we're moving on to complete debris removal. As it relates to the shelter, we're going to extend it for 1 week. We have approximately less than 20 people, I believe, that are there that we need to get housing for, and we're working with LASA to identify long-term housing for those individuals, but we have extended it for 1 week in order to make sure that those that are still there are not displaced. It's important for us to provide them with a roof over their heads, and we recognize that. So Pamela Park will remain open for 1 week, and we're going to work very hard to secure housing for them.
Thank you. We have a question, I think, over here.
Hi, Laura Nelson with the LA Times. This is a question for the EPA. I'm hoping you can touch on just some timeline and logistics questions about phase 1. How did you complete it so quickly, if you can talk about that a little bit? And then how many properties were cleared? How many were deferred to phase 2? And can you provide an estimate of how much waste might be left for the Army Corps to clean up in phase 2? Thanks.
Sure. So we ramped up. We normally have... We normally have 15 to 20 teams addressing wildfires. We had up to 90 teams. We had 1,700 personnel on the ground, which is a record. We borrowed resources from around the country in EPA. We had resources from DOD and from the Coast Guard, and also from California Department of Toxic Substance Control. So that is how we ramped up our team so quickly in meeting our goal. Well, I don't have exact numbers. Approximately 66% of the properties were cleared by EPA, again by hand, in order to do it safely. 33% have been deferred to phase 2, and a small contingent will remain to support the Army Corps of Engineers. In terms of debris that might be left, hazardous material, we did assessments of everything, and we certainly know all the properties that have lithium-ion batteries still on them, which is about between 80 and 100 properties for that. That would be the most concerning left behind. I don't know, Tara, if you have specific numbers.
Nope.
All right. Thank you.
I think we have I'm sorry. Go ahead, Colonel.
Yeah, let me just follow up. So roughly 3,400 properties were deferred to phase 2. Those fall into several buckets. Those are properties that we have the right of entry for, and we're working actively to get those cleared of the fire ash and debris, as well as the household hazardous materials. And in order, we start that process with a make safer. So we want to make the property safer using mechanical tools like excavators to remove the overhead hazards. Then we do the household hazardous material. Then we do the phase 2. So that's one bucket. The second bucket is people who have opted in to the program. The county has the right of entry and is reviewing it. And we anticipate getting that right of entry quickly. So that's a second bucket. The third bucket is people we haven't heard from yet or who have opted out and haven't had phase 1 done. And those, we have another team that's out trying to get the household hazardous materials off of those properties as quickly as possible so that we can contain these materials and safely transport them to an approved storage location. So that's kind of how we're working it, and we're going on all three of those fronts as rapidly as possible, because we understand the importance of getting household hazardous materials removed. To answer maybe the second part of your question, we anticipate removing somewhere on the order of 4.5 million tons of fire ash and debris from both the Eaton and Palisades fire-impacted areas combined.
Thank you. We'll go right here.
Good morning, Craig Figner with KNX News. So 3 housekeeping questions. I just want to make sure I'm getting some things right. So I'm hearing some properties deferred to phase 2 and then referred to phase 2. Am I mishearing, or is there a difference between those two terms, and if so, what is it?
Yeah, so the clarification is that if the EPA cannot safely conduct phase 1, they defer the property to the Army Corps of Engineers to include it as part of our property. There are some residents, survivors, who have opted out of this program and to use a private contractor. We are working hard and in concert with them to clear those properties of household hazardous materials when able, so that we can make sure that those household hazardous materials are properly moved from an uncontrolled environment to a controlled environment and taken to an appropriate storage facility.
Okay. And then my other housekeeping question before my question is when we talk about 99% for EPA, is that referring to both fire sites, Palisades and Eaton?
Yes, it is now 100%, and it is from both fire sites.
Okay, and then thank you for indulging me. Finally, when we talk about the total time for Army Corps of Engineers to remove debris, is it still 1 year from, say, today? I'm not going to hold you to a specific date, but 1 year's time for both fire sites.
It'll be less than 1 year. Less than 1 year. I think part of that depends on how fast residents opt into the program. If they wait till 31 March, or if they do it today, which is why we've been encouraging, the whole unified team here behind me, as well as the county, have been encouraging residents to ask questions, to be knowledgeable on the process, and to make that decision so that we can get crews out to remove the debris. Yeah, thank you.
A question here.
This is a question for both Supervisor Horvath as well as Kevin McGowan. We're receiving correspondence from the National Weather Service's Los Angeles offices saying they started holding fire calls as early as December 30th on that Monday. Were you part of any of those calls? When was the Emergency Operations Center activated? When were you hearing about these alerts?
Thank you. Kevin McGowan, Director with the Los Angeles County Office of Emergency Management. So, as we do with all of the red flag warnings, as the National Weather Service starts predicting its forecast, there's a certainty component to it. So those fire weather coordination calls include both fire agencies, emergency management agencies, of which the Office of Emergency Management was a part of. As the certainty and confidence in those forecasts increase, we start then hosting what we call operational area coordination calls with fire agencies, law enforcement, emergency management. we started doing that over the weekend prior to the event. So that would have been the 5th and 6th. And then on Monday, we hosted more like concerted efforts, pre-positioning resources, increasing like our posture. And then officially our Emergency Operations Center activated the morning of the 7th. And then as it relates to like the larger coordination efforts, those are all part of our after action report too.
Did you work with the city, Los Angeles City?
We worked with all of our 88 cities, our disaster management areas, along with the California Office of Emergency Services. It's a tried and true process that we do for every red flag warning.
We posted on social media, I believe, at first on the Friday before the fire. We sent out an email to all of our constituents who receive our newsletters on the Monday before the fire. I was personally in Topanga on Saturday and in Malibu on Sunday, contacting small business owners to make sure that they were aware of the red flag warnings as well. So I was doing that personally in person, but we were very much engaged because emergency preparedness is a way of life for the 3rd District.
You were working with the city of Los Angeles in order to coordinate your efforts?
As you heard, our emergency operations management team was working in coordination with the entire region, and we opened our emergency operations center. The county opened our EOC in advance of the fire ever breaking out because we knew that the severe conditions were predicted. And so, as you heard, Director McGowan was very much coordinating that preparation.
You as county supervisor felt like you were notified and aware of these wind concerns?
We were absolutely notified by our staff, by our chief, by the National Weather Service, and our entire county family.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, hearing none, that wraps our press conference. One-on-ones available. Please move forward if you'd like that. And we also have Spanish speakers available if you'd like some one-on-ones, or we can do a press gaggle on the side. Thank you.